September 10th, 2025. That was the day a highly publicized gathering on a Utah campus turned deadly, and the entire nation's attention locked onto the story. Charlie Kirk, the well-known conservative activist and co-founder of Turning Point USA, was fatally shot. Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to walk step by step through one of the absolute most closely watched criminal cases in the U.S. right now, the state of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. We're stripping away the noise and looking purely at the facts, the legal frameworks, and the evidence exactly as it's been presented in court so far. Let's dive in.
So, where are we at right now? Well, the legal process has brought us to a totally critical juncture and one massive central question. Is there actually enough evidence here for a capital murder trial? We are currently unpacking all the details pouring out of a marathon 5-day preliminary hearing that kicked off in July 2026, which is, nearly a full year after the incident itself.
As you probably know, the legal gears turn pretty slowly and methodically. Let's look at the timeline. We start on September 10, 2025, the day of the shooting. Fast forward to July 6, 2026, the start of this huge preliminary hearing. And looking ahead, we're all waiting on a future date for the judge's official decision. This timeline really represents a rigorous ongoing process of evidence gathering and intense legal scrutiny. Section 1, the arrest and the accused. Okay, before we go any further, it's absolutely crucial to lay down a foundational principle of our legal system. Tyler James Robinson has been arrested and he's been charged, but he has not been convicted. He is presumed innocent unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. It's also worth noting the accused is just 23 years old. That really highlights the sheer gravity of the situation for a young defendant facing the immense machinery of the state's justice system. And here's another really important number to keep in mind: 10. Robinson is currently looking at 10 distinct felony counts. This really underscores the massive weight and severity of the allegations prosecutors have brought forward after their investigation. Let's actually break those charges down. The allegations include aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and the commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child. Now, what's critical to understand here is that first charge. Under Utah law, a conviction for aggravated murder can literally carry the death penalty. That right there makes this one of the state's most significant criminal prosecutions in recent memory. Section 2, understanding the hearing. To really get a grip on what's going on right now, we've got to talk about the exact legal mechanism of these July proceedings. Look, this is not the trial. The jury isn't even in the room yet. The absolutely crucial concept here is probable cause. During this 5-day preliminary hearing, the judge's only job is to figure out if prosecutors have established probable cause. In plain American English, that just means deciding if there's enough solid evidence to justify sending this whole case to a jury trial. The judge isn't deciding guilt or innocence here, merely whether the prosecution's case is strong enough to keep moving forward. Section 3, the prosecution's case, allegations and evidence. Okay, as we walk through this, just keep in mind that we are strictly looking at the prosecution's side right now. These are alleged facts. They haven't been fully tested or proven at an actual trial yet. Investigators have essentially built their case on 4 main pillars: surveillance and forensic evidence, an alleged handwritten letter, digital communications, and an alleged motive. Let's take a closer look at how they construct this narrative. Step by step, here's how prosecutors allege the physical events actually unfolded. First, they say surveillance footage places a suspect on the roof of the UVU Lucy Center shortly before the shooting. Second, investigators report pulling palm prints and a shoe impression off that very same roof. And third, they find a rifle wrapped in a towel nearby. To tie all this to Robinson, prosecutors allege that DNA matching him was recovered from the rifle, the trigger, the fired cartridge casings, and that towel. But it's not just about the physical scene. Prosecutors also brought up an alleged handwritten note, which investigators claim was stashed right beneath Robinson's keyboard. According to the state, this note specifically described a planned mission targeting Charlie Kirk. The prosecution points straight to this language to argue that the act was heavily premeditated. And then we have the digital footprint. Prosecutors pointed to text messages and digital communications allegedly sent by Robinson after the shooting took place. They claim some of these messages discuss his actions and provide an alleged motive. Specifically, they highlight a text stating he targeted Kirk because he had, quote, had enough of his hatred. The prosecution is absolutely using this to help form their argument regarding his intent. Now, you might be wondering, why are prosecutors going for the ultimate punishment here? Well, they argue that the shooting happened during a highly crowded public event, which placed a massive number of bystanders at severe risk. Under Utah law, they contend this creates specific aggravating factors that could put the death penalty on the table if Robinson is eventually convicted. Now, whether those factors legally apply, that's a debate that'll be settled much later in the process.
Section 4. The courtroom clash. The defense responds.
Of course, a robust defense is literally the cornerstone of our justice system, and Robinson's attorneys are strongly disputing the prosecution's narrative and how they're interpreting the evidence. For example, while the prosecution claims DNA matching Robinson was found on the rifle and the towel, the defense pushes right back. They argue that the DNA found on the weapon may actually include multiple unidentified individuals, which obviously casts doubt on the state's definitive link. The defense doesn't stop there. They're also attacking the mechanical evidence. So the prosecution presents the recovered rifle as the definitive murder weapon, right? But the defense counters that the ballistic evidence does not conclusively establish that this specific recovered rifle fired the fatal shot. They are demanding a much, much higher standard of forensic proof from the state. Zooming out from just the physical evidence, the defense has brought up some pretty major systemic legal concerns. They've cited issues regarding prosecutorial conduct and potential prejudice that they argue could really affect Robinson's fundamental right to a fair trial. Now, the judge hasn't accepted their request to prevent prosecutors from seeking the death penalty, but these critical legal disputes are still a very active, ongoing part of the case.
Section 5. What happens next?
All right, so we've looked at the state's allegations, and we've heard the defense's rebuttals. Where do we go from here? It all comes down to Judge Tony Graff Jr.'s pending decision now that this preliminary hearing has wrapped up. It's basically a binary path. If probable cause is found, the case moves forward, and Robinson stands trial on these incredibly serious charges. But if probable cause is not found, some or possibly all of the charges could be dismissed or significantly modified. If there is one massive takeaway from this entire explainer, it's this. The preliminary hearing judge is only opening the door. If this case proceeds, it's a future jury, a group of everyday citizens who will listen to all the evidence, weigh the complex forensic science, hear the testimonies, and judge the legal arguments from both sides to ultimately determine guilt or innocence. The death of Charlie Kirk and the subsequent arrest of Tyler James Robinson have sparked one of the most intense legal battles unfolding in the country today. We'll be keeping a very close eye on this and following the facts wherever they lead. Some mysteries are solved. Others remain hidden in the darkness. Subscribe to Midnight Files, and we'll uncover the next story together.